pulling your dies out of the box, all across the board. So what we're going to do, I've already got our primer tube filled up. Now, I thought about emptying it out and refilling it up just for y'all's, but that would be a pain, so I didn't do it. So we got large pistol primers in our primer tube. We got our Lee 45 ACP dies. I'm going to show you guys how to set those up. Press is already set up, so the press comes with everything you need except for the shell plates and the dies. Those are caliber specific, so you'll use them.
Do any brand dies fit in it? Because
Yep.
you got Lee dies and a Hornady press.
I was just about to ask you.
Because it uses, you know, it's kind of an industry standard on your threads.
Okay.
But it comes with these little lock and load bushings, which are great because once you set them up, you don't have to unset them. You know, you change calibers when you come back to what you already set up. You just have to just check your settings and you're ready to go. But this is a 5-station press. Now, not every caliber, when you're loading, will you use all 5 holes. So we're going to kind of walk through it. So we've got the first station right here is where your resize and decapper is. So if you look at a 45 brass, what we're going to do is we're going to knock that primer out in the first station. Looking for your glasses, Bill?
Yep.
That's all you dig. So we're going to knock that primer out. We're going to resize this, and we're going to set the die up so we know the right way to do it. So if you look at a set of dies, the Lees come with a powder through expander die. We're not going to use that because our powder dump does all the actions we need for this. So we're going to leave this in here. We're going to use the full length sizing die and the taper crimp seat die. Now the difference is this one has a roll crimp setup in it, which we're not going to use on 45 ACP. Some rounds that have a cantilever in it, like these, see it's got that little groove in it right here. Those require a roll crimp. We don't need no 45, so we're just going to skip that step altogether. We'll look at that a little further. But so we got our resizing die. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it in here. I'm going to pull my ram all the way down, so the ram's all the way to the top, and I'm going to screw this down until it just touches the shell. Once it touches, I'm going to lock it down with my handy dandy pliers.
He also has a little wrench that fits on there, a little plastic wrench.
But I use my pocket pliers.
Every one of us being Home Depot tomorrow.
Got a little connected pliers. So that was set up. Now the cool thing about this, once you get it all set up, because of the way this press works, you know, these just screw right in and out. See, and the die stays in the bushing. You just leave it in the bushing, and then if you're moving it from press to press, it still does the exact same thing in your other Hornady presses. But the great thing about it, most people are going to have one press, but then your die is set up. All you got to do is take them out. You can put them in the box with a little bushing, with it in the bushing, and you're good to go. And that's a great feature. So we were talking about this case gauge a while ago. I use these a lot when I'm loading, because it helps me determine that I've got the proper size casing. See, if you notice, this one doesn't fit quite down in there, it stops there because it's just a little bit fat. So we're going to resize this. So I just slide her in. I'm going to come up. Primer just fell through the tube, but it's down there in the little catch bucket. And now this casing. So now our next stage, usually you set your powder up here, but for the purpose of showing you guys that you can use multiple holes or not, I'm going to set it up in this one right here. So our second hole is just going to be empty. Now we're going to load CFE pistol. There in a 45 ACP, man, there's dozens of powders that you can use. We're gonna refer to our Hornady 11th edition handbook. We're gonna go to 45 ACP. And we're gonna find our bullet. We're gonna load some 230 grain Hornady XTP hollow points. So if we come here to our load book, This is all the different powders that Hornady shows. Now, that doesn't mean that's all the powder that's available for it, it's just what Hornady listed, because in a 45 there is so much data. But I always like to kind of go middle of the road for my target ammo. You know, I'm not trying to shoot for accuracy, I'm just shooting for fun. So I'm gonna kind of go middle of the road, so I'm gonna shoot for 800 feet per second. See, 800 feet per second. See, Hornady says that 700 feet per second is a safe minimum, 900 feet per second is a safe maximum, as long as you stay within this load data. So we're gonna go for the 800. And if I'm looking at my powders here, I've got several of these on the shelf, but we're gonna choose the CFE pistol. CFE pistol, if you notice, has load data that goes all the way down to 700 and all the way up to 900 feet per second. So we're gonna shoot for 6 grains of powder of CFE pistol, which is gonna give us 800 feet per second. Okay, so then our next step would be put some powder in this. Okay, so we got a little powder. We're gonna set our load data, our load, we're gonna check our load with this little spin plunger. Now, one thing to talk about real quick, we have a casing that's resized and it's straight and perfect. Now we're gonna put a bullet in there that is also straight and perfect. And if you notice, they're almost identical in width, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna bell the mouth of this. It's called an expander die. What it's gonna do is it's gonna put a little flare on the top so this bullet will sit in there and push in easily without crinkling the top of that casing. So this is what the die looks like. You can kind of see it's just got a little bevel on it so that it pushes in, and up at the top it belts it. All right, this is inside here, and it's inside all your stuff in the box
Okay.
already. So you just got to set this up. Now, when you're using your bell expander, you'll use this mechanism here to set up the amount of the bell. I'm not going to show you how to set that up right now because it's not that hard. Once you kind of get playing with it, you'll see, okay, it makes pretty good sense. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use a little scale here.
Is there instructions in the kit on how to
It
set
is,
it up?
yeah. Hornady's got real good instructions in there.
And don't you do that before you put the powder in it? Just to get it set up?
Yeah. Yeah, you'll set that up whenever you're actually putting all this together, because you got the powder drop, and then this is a case activated powder mechanism is what they call it. And what it does is it allows the casing, when it pushes it up, it flips this arm up, which throws the charge, which dumps the powder. And so you'll set that all up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take this casing with the primer, and I'm gonna set our scale to 0. All right, so our scale says 0
With the primer.
with the primer in it, with the casing and everything. So that way we can weigh it and see what our powder weighs. So when I come up, see, well, if you notice, it slides right over the mouth of that. I'm just gonna throw this all the way up. So it's dumping powder. And we're shooting for 6 grains, right? So we're gonna weigh it and we'll see how close we are. We're 5.6, so we're not far off. So 5.6. Now here's the cool thing. So if we're loading CFE pistol. If we load 5.6, we're going to be above 700 feet per second still. So kind of gives you an idea of the range that you have when you're talking about target ammo. Now right now we're talking about this on an entry level. You know, learning how to reload, getting into it for the first time. Don't let being so precise keep you from loading and keep you from shooting. You know, get out there, load some, shoot some, and fine-tune the process as you go. So we got 5.5 grains. We're going to increase it by screwing this out because it's a cavity in here. So we're going to just screw it out a little bit. I'm going to dump this back in, and we're going to do it one more time. All right, now we are at 5.8, getting closer, so we're going to increase it a little bit. I'll dump that back in. We'll just verify we're still at 0. Yep, we are at 0. And we're going to charge one more time. 6.1. So we can live with that. You know, that's going to put us slightly over 800 feet per second. And keep in mind too, you know, your barrel length has a lot to do with your velocity, but loading kind of middle of the road in your load book is going to give you safety across all your guns, whether it be a shorter barrel action or a longer barreled action. You're still going to be safe in all those. Like if you have a 45, like maybe in a short barrel rifle, it's got a 10 or a 12 inch or 18 inch, 16 inch barrel, it'll still shoot that without a problem. So the next part that we use, which comes with the press, is called a powder cob. The purpose of this is to just give you the ability to monitor your casing, make sure you got powder in it. So we drop that in right after our powder charge, and what it does is it comes up, this just moves. See how that moved a little bit? So we know what we got.
Indicator, let you know.
Yep, it just pops up and down so you know you got powder in there. Now, in a 45, that's not a big deal because you just got a big old mouth, it's a ½ inch wide, you could see the powder in there. But think about when you're loading maybe 357, it's a little thinner, a little taller, or even rifle, 223 or 308. You know, you got a long cartridge with a smaller hole, you really can't see in there. So it just gives you the ability to set this up to monitor yourself as you're going. When I'm loading, I always just take my time, I go slow, and I look at every station when I come down with it. Before I come back up, I'm not in a hurry at all. Less chance of having a mishap, you know. So now we're going to come down with it. Now we're going to set up our seating die. So we're going to use the one. Where do you go? Here it is. So this is our bullet seating die. So the way we're going to set this up is this is sometimes a little tricky to set up, but what we do is I'm going to screw the little lock ring out of the way altogether. I'm going to back the seating die, the bullet seating die part back. So what this die does is when the casing goes inside it, because remember now we got that belt on the mouth, so when it slides in, it's going to start dropping the bullet down into the casing, and as the casing slides up, it's going to pull that belt back out of it, straighten it back up. That's called a taper crimp. What it does is just squeezes it around the bullet itself. This actually seats your bullet to depth. So I'm going to back this up all out of the way so it's completely out of my way. We're going to set this up. Now your instructions, we're just now looking at the instructions. But your lead dies will come with the good instructions, and it tells you how to set up your seating die. So it tells you, raise the ram to the top of the stroke, screw the bullet seating die until it touches the shell holder, then back it out 3 full turns. Okay? For Magnum cases, it's a little bit different for what we're using. So we're going to take our loaded, and we're going to bring our ram all the way down. So we're going to screw this in. Until it touches, and I'm going to turn it out 3 full turns. It's a half. It's 1, 2. That's about 3. I'm going to go out a little further than that just because I want to show you guys how to do it. So as we're setting this up, so now I'm going to screw this lock down just to where it touches so it's got some tension on it. So we're going to take one of our bullets, and I'm just going to set it on it nice and square. And now, as you can see, if you come look at it, you can get an idea of how that bell actually worked. Remember how that bullet was pretty much straight in line with the casing? So now we got a little bell on it where the bullet sits right inside the casing, right inside that bell. So you got a little space there. See that? So now we're going to just come up with it. We got our the seating die all the way back out of the way. And then we're going to just come down with it. Now, that is way too long for a 45. But see, if you feel that, you can kind of feel how we got a little, we still have a little ramp right there where that bell is. Mm-hmm. You feel that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but so we still need to lower our die some. See?
Yep.
Yeah. But
And that's where, like on your high-powered rifle, you want to neck your bullet up or down or back or forth.
well, on
When
your
you
high
start
power,
getting that precision shooting.
yeah, well, your high power rifle, you're shooting for consistency. You want everything to be the same. You know,
Right.
so that's why you'll trim casings and stuff. But these case gauges, they're great because now I can see, oh, that's not going to fit in anybody's chamber. See, that's as far as it goes in less now than it did before.
Right.
So what I'm going to do, now I'm going to put this back in.
Do the case gauges come?
Nope, they're separate. I got a bunch of them over there on the.
Right.
Yeah, I try to stock case gauges for every caliber I can find. I love case gauges, man. They're great.
Yeah.
I used to keep my rifle in my loading room so I could check the chambers from time to time, but that makes it a whole lot better. But so we're going to come back up. We know we need to come down some, so I'm going to back out our little lock die, and I'm just going to ease it down now until I feel like we are making some progress. And so you can feel it right here. See that one? That feels a lot better. You can actually feel the difference in that. Still a little, we use our case gauge and it's going to tell us we're still a little bit.
Well, that bell's gonna keep it out of the case gauge too, ain't it? Because it's not seated yet.
The bell on the casing?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're adjusting out now. See, your bullet will fall completely through that. So when you're using this with your case gauge, your bullet, it's not causing any issues. But it's the bell that we're working on adjusting out. Now, the reason we want to get it just right is if you get it too low, you'll end up crinkling some casings like that. See, I done that one as I was setting up my first one the other day. See, it just kind of wrinkles the casing a little bit because what it's doing is just putting too much downward pressure. It's got to go somewhere so it just crinkle that brass. I saved that not as a failure, but as an example. All right, so we get real close now. We almost there. Yeah, so now that goes all the way in. See, now we're still real long. We know we're long. We're going to work on the length of it here in just a second. But so now we know we've got the right crimp on that shoulder. So it'll drop right in the case gauge. And so now we're going to, because that's way long.
And you don't have
So-
to mess with that on every bullet. Once you get it set it up, it's set up.
Yeah, because your bullet length will be something that you adjust, but once you get your dies all set up, then you should be good to go for pretty much every caliber you load. So now we're going to go back to our book. We're loading the Hornady XTP, 230 grains, so we want to know our overall length. So it's going to tell us in here, our casing overall length is 1.230. That's what we're shooting for. That's what we want to make the thing.
That's your
Casing.
max, or is there a
Yep.
fluctuation in it, or
Well,
that's it?
yeah, just shoot for that. I mean, in a 45, you got a little bit of flexibility, but as long as you hit real close to that 1.23, it'll load fine. Now, it can be a little bit long, it'll still work. A little bit short, it'll still work. If it's a little short, what happens sometimes is on your feed ramps on automatics, you'll have some issues. But so we're going to use our calipers. We're going to make sure they're 0. We're going to come to our 1.230. And we're going to lock her down. 1.230. Watch out. Okay, so we're gonna lock her down, and that's what we're going for. So this gives you an idea of how long we are. See, we're still that much too long. So on the Hornady though, just to give you an idea of what to shoot for, that shoulder is going to be slightly above our case. So that's how much we got to turn down our seating portion of the die. So what I always do, we just come up.
Just watching it as you push it in.
Yeah, I'm just watching it as I'm dropping it down. Once I get pretty close to that shoulder, then I'll start measuring. Let's see what we got. So we're a little bit tall, so now we're down just that much too tall. Pretty close. Now see where we're at. 1.24. 1.229. So we're right there at 1.229, 1.230. The difference in that is, if I can get it to stay there. I mean, that's the difference. I mean, it's hardly any up and down play. So we're at 1.229.
Oh, yeah.
So 1.229.
So he's holding in the back. He thinks I'm gonna do it. See, if you get in the front like him, you'd be my
So
favorite.
let's load some 45. We got this set up, so now we've got it all set up in the initial stages, and we're going to load a few, and we're going to check as we go just to make sure that we're all good with what we want. So this is a 5-station progressive, so we're going to use each station. So we're going to start with a single here. We're going to come up, and we're going to knock the primer out. We're going to come down, and now we just put the primer in. So now I'm going to go ahead and put another bullet in here. So we got one that's resized and reprimed. Now we got a one here. We're going to do the same thing again with it. Now the second station, nothing is happening because we've got nothing there. We left it blank. So we're going to come down. We're going to put our primer in. Let's go ahead and weigh this one, because I want to check our powder. So we'll weigh this one. It's at 0. And now I'm going to come back up. Now, if you notice, our powder swung up. It's back down. We're going to put our primer in. Oh, we forgot to put a casing in. Now on a Hornady, the great thing about it is we forgot a step or a station. We just keep moving on. Because this is an automatic indexing, there's no chance of us making a mistake. We're not going to double powder a charge. We're not going to double charge it. So we're going to stop right there. We're going to weigh this, and our target is what? 6 ounce. We're at 6.2, so we're a little bit heavy, but according to our load data, is 6.2 going to be dangerous? 6.4 puts us at 850 feet per second, so I'm saying we're going to be somewhere at 825, which is completely okay for a 45. But I'm gonna screw this in just a little bit because I want to go down on my charge zone. I'm just going to go in a little bit, and I'm going to keep loading what I got because 6.2 is totally fine. Now I'm going to remember to put a casing here. We're going to come around. All right, so now we're resizing. We're powdering, and we're also checking our charge. See how this little piece come up? See the little white ring? That's going to go back down here. And we're going to put us a primer in here. Put another casing in. Now we're going to grab our bullets, bring them over here. And we're going to set one right in there.
Now, what did you just adjust there?
I just put the bullet in.
Oh, I
didn't
just
adjust
heard something
anything.
pop there.
Well, no,
That was
the
the primer coming
Okay.
out.
yeah, the primer dropped in the bottom, so we just loaded one. We're going to check that. Yeah, it fits right in. Now, sometimes on these case gauges, They won't always drop right in like some of them do, like that one, but just a little pressure and it goes right into the bottom without a whole lot of pressure. That's gonna shoot in any 45 that you try to fire it in. All right, so we've got this one. We're gonna check our load now. We got a primer in it, so we're gonna go back to 0. And let's see where we're at on load. All right, we'll put a bullet here on this one. We're going to seat a primer. We're going to weigh this one. .2 still. I'm going to go in just a little bit farther. I'm going to put that one back in. And then we're going to check this one. Same thing, so we're good. So, you know, the first, I don't know, first 10, 15 rounds, you'll just kind of fine tune your process. Once you're happy with your powder, then it's just a matter of just feeding
Cases in there.
brass and bullets. Yeah, so now we'll go ahead and go through, we'll just load these last 3. So we're going to powder it. We're going to drop our bullet in here. All right, so we got a bad casing here. A second ago, my table didn't index, and I need to set that up a little. I got to probably lube it up some to see how it didn't index. It rolled the shoulder of that casing.
Mm-hmm.
So I can knock this primer out and reuse it, but I'm not. I'm just going to dump my powder out just so it's back in there nice and safe. But so that's pretty much the extent of what we got to do on the Hornady, the lock and load AP.